The Alien franchise has employed hundreds of actors over 4 decades. Sadly, not all of them are around today, and there are more than a few deaths you might not even realize happened. Harry Dean Stanton plays Brett in Alien, the first crew member of the Nostromo to be killed by the fully grown xenomorph.
Still with us, Brett? Anything so bad, man?
Right.
Yeah. I feel dead.
In a film with some extremely memorable death scenes, his stands out. Expecting to find at worst a rabbit-sized monster, he finds a nightmare that could swallow his head with its hand. He looks as if the terror has completely shocked the human emotion out of him, and when the camera cuts away, his fate is clear. Stanton worked for decades in Hollywood as one of its most recognizable character actors, ready to steal just about any scene. He gives Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner a pair of pants in 2012's The Avengers, played a corrupt polygamist in HBO's Big Love, and was a regular in the films of David Lynch. Stanton died of heart failure in 2017 at the age of 91. Before his passing, the actor got the chance to lead his final film, Lucky, a drama in which he played the titular hero.
Lucky fell down!
Let's not make a production out of it.
Logan Sparks, Stanton's friend and co-writer of Lucky, said in 2018 that making the film both scared Stanton and gave him a sense of peace. Sparks said Stanton knew it would be his last film and that the subject matter, a 90-year-old facing his mortality, sometimes hit a little too close to home. The very first victim of the alien xenomorphs is Kane, played by the late Sir John Hurt, whose grisly death remains the best kill in the entire Alien franchise. Kane survives the so-called facehugger, only to later die when the young xenomorph implanted in him bursts out of his chest. He lives long enough to see the little monster, then dies. The years bookending his Alien appearance were good ones for Hurt as far as the critics were concerned. In 1978, he was nominated for his role as a heroin addict in the prison drama Midnight Express, and in 1980 he was honored with a nomination for Best Leading Actor as John Merrick in The Elephant Man. Hurt brought an unforgettable presence to his roles, including the spiritual leader Gilliam in Snowpiercer, a devilish billionaire in Contact, and an expert wand maker in the Harry Potter films.
I wondered when I'd be seeing you, Mr. Potter.
In 2015, Hurt revealed that he had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and that he would continue his work during treatment. He died in early 2017, 3 days after his 77th birthday. Yaphet Kotto appears in Alien as Parker, one of the final Nostromo crew members to fall victim to the xenomorph. But Parker was just the first of a few high-profile spacefaring roles he was offered. Kotto turned down the chance to play Lando Calrissian in 1980's The Empire Strikes Back, and later said no to becoming the captain of the new Enterprise on Star Trek The Next Generation. While he expressed regret over passing on Star Trek, he was apparently fine with his Star Wars decision. In 2003, he told IGN that after Alien, he, quote, wanted to get back down to Earth and was concerned about being typecast.
It was the first time an African-American had been seen in a role like that. Thank you, Ridley. God bless you.
Kotto didn't suffer too badly for leaving the stars. He's perhaps best remembered as Al Giardello on the acclaimed police drama Homicide: Life on the Street. Some of his other memorable roles include a Bond villain in 1973's Live and Let Die, an intimidating FBI agent in 1988's Midnight Run, and one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's sidekicks in 1987's The Running Man. Kotto died in March 2021 at the age of 81. It's a testament to the acting talent of the late Ian Holm that his portrayal of Ash, the android who tries to kill Ripley, gives us arguably the most disturbing character in Alien, even when compared to the xenomorph.
You still don't understand what you're dealing with, do you? Perfect organism.
It's precisely because of the trauma Ash deals her that Ripley is so hostile toward Lance Henriksen's android Bishop in 1986's Aliens.
You sure you don't want some?
Just stay away from me, Bishop. You got that straight?
Holm was a revered actor, nominated for a Best Supporting Oscar for his turn as the outcast running coach Musabini in the 1981 sports drama Chariots of Fire. Fans of Peter Jackson's J.R.R. Tolkien adaptation certainly know his name, since he played the iconic role of Bilbo Baggins in 2001's The Fellowship of the Ring and 2003's The Return of the King, while reprising the role briefly for 2 of the 3 The Hobbit films. He made memorable turns in too many beloved films to name, including The Fifth Element, The Aviator, and Brazil. Holm died in June 2020 of a Parkinson's-related illness. He was 88 years old. One of the lesser-known Alien actors played the most important role. Standing at 6 feet 10 inches, Nigerian actor Bolaji Badejo did much of the physical work of the adult xenomorph.
They sent him to Tai Chi and to mime classes so that he could learn to slow down.
While other actors such as Peter Mayhew, Chewbacca of Star Wars fame, were considered to play the xenomorph, the filmmakers needed someone who wasn't just extremely tall, but also very thin. Associate producer Ivor Powell said that they were thinking specifically of a praying mantis look for the creature. It was casting agent Peter Ardrum who discovered Badejo in a London pub. He called Powell right away and told him Badejo looked exactly like what the film needed. Alien was Badejo's only screen performance, but what an iconic one it was. He died of sickle cell disease in 1992 at the age of 39. Bolaji Badejo wasn't the only guy wearing the xenomorph suit in Alien. In some sequences, that job went to Hollywood veteran Eddie Powell, who returned as one of the beasts for Aliens. Powell had worked chiefly as a stuntman since the 50s. In particular, Powell became known as a regular stunt double for Christopher Lee in many of his films as Count Dracula, including Taste the Blood of Dracula, Scars of Dracula, and Dracula AD 1972. He also had a few mostly small acting roles under his belt. Most memorably, he co-starred with Lee as the goat of Mendez in the 1968 British horror flick The Devil Rides Out.
My God, the goat of Mendez, the devil himself.
Powell's last stunt work was in 1996 on the Sylvester Stallone-led disaster flick Daylight. He died 4 years later in August 2000 in Berkshire, England, of complications related to heart failure. Finding ourselves in the kinds of deadly situations that the characters of the Alien franchise endure would test our courage, which has at least something to do with why Bill Paxton's Private Hudson of Aliens is so beloved.
Check it out. I am the ultimate badass. Yes. State of the badass art.
Hudson is constantly fighting his dread and fear to help his comrades. Paxton died in 2017 at the age of 61 when he suffered a stroke after open heart surgery. The actor left behind an impressive body of work that included playing the storm-chasing hero of Twister, the polygamous patriarch on HBO's Big Love, a morally conflicted bookkeeper in A Simple Plan, astronaut Fred Hayes in Apollo 13, and one of the most chilling villains to ever appear on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, I'm a bit of a sweet talker when I need to be. You wouldn't believe what I could talk this son of a gun into.
He also boasts the unique honor of being the only actor to play characters killed by a xenomorph, a Terminator, and one of the hunters of the Predator franchise. Along with making a crazed last stand in Aliens, he's killed early by Arnold Schwarzenegger's T-800 in 1984's The Terminator, and plays a cop who falls victim to the monster in 1990's Predator 2. Perhaps one of the most surprising early casualties in Aliens is that of the cigar-chomping Sergeant Apon, played by the late Al Matthews. As a Marine sergeant who's chewing on his cigar literally seconds after waking from hypersleep, who delivers a kind of classic drill sergeant verbal browbeating that R. Lee Ermey became famous for after Full Metal Jacket. You don't expect much to be able to take down Apon, but he's one of the first to be captured and impregnated by the facehuggers when the xenomorphs ambushed the Marines early in the sequel. One of the reasons Matthews was so good in the role of Apon is because it was familiar territory. Matthews spent 6 years in the Marine Corps during the Vietnam War, receiving 2 Purple Hearts and over a dozen combat awards for his service. In a 2006 interview, he said he helped teach the rest of the actors how to believably act like Marines, and that director James Cameron said that he would have made Matthews' part bigger if he'd known he would be so effective. Matthews died in 2018 at the age of 75. There are a couple of Marines in Aliens whose faces you see only briefly. In fact, you hear their names mentioned more after they're gone the way of most Alien characters than while they're alive. One example is Private Crow, played by the late Tip Tipping. Crown falls during the early ambush scene, and the only clear shot we get of his face is before the descent to LV-426 when the Marines are gearing up.
But this isn't going to hurt me in any way, is it, Tip?
You bet it's going to bloody hurt you.
But although Tipping didn't have the most famous face in Aliens, he was one of the most well-respected stunt coordinators in the entertainment industry. The former Royal Marine Commando had been doing stunt work since the late 70s, including on the second and third Indiana Jones films, Willow, Tim Burton's Batman, a number of James Bond films, and plenty of other movies and TV shows. Tipping died in 1993 while performing a stunt meant to reproduce a skydiving accident for the BBC docudrama series 999. He was 34 years old. If you're a character in an Alien film, there's a good chance you won't make it to the end credits. While Trevor Steedman's Private Wierzbowski isn't lucky enough to survive Aliens, at least he's killed quickly after a bag of ammunition catches fire and explodes, unlike many of his comrades who are captured and used as hosts. Like Tip Tipping, Steedman was a stunt performer. Unlike Tipping, Steedman landed a few acting roles in British programs like Doctor Who and Minder. He worked steadily up through the mid-2010s, with credits on films like Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, Children of Men, and Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows. Steedman died in 2016 after suffering a stroke. He was 62 years old. One villain who survives aliens is Van Leeuwen, the corporate jerk heading the tribunal early in the movie who either refuses to believe Ripley's version of what happened on the Nostromo or perhaps, considering the company's hopes for the xenomorphs, pretends to not believe. There's a good chance you also know Maxwell from another turn as a villain. He plays the bad guy credited as Panama Hat in 1989's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
That belongs in a museum! So do you!
The Canadian-born actor appeared frequently in British television series, usually portraying American characters. He died at the age of 70 in 1991. Of the various corporate and bureaucratic characters who act as foils to Ripley throughout the Alien series, perhaps the most sympathetic is Harry Andrews of 1992's Alien 3, played by the late Brian Glover.
I try not to offend their convictions. I don't want to upset the order. I don't want ripples in the water.
As much of a narrow-minded jerk as he seems, unlike other Weyland-Yutani stooges interested only in profit or learning from the xenomorph at the cost of human lives, Andrews is the warden of a prison, and it's tough to blame him for wanting to keep the peace. Of course, that doesn't save him.
Get that foolish woman back to the infirmary!
Glover was one of a couple of actors in Alien 3 who weren't well known in the United States, but enjoyed much more recognition in the UK. A former professional wrestler, Glover was beloved across the pond, particularly for films like the 1969 drama Kess and the 1992 comedy Leon the Pig Farmer. Glover died in his sleep in 1997. He'd had surgery for a brain tumor the year before and was thought to be on the mend, but sadly the illness returned and got the better of him. One of the more surprising castings in Alien 3 was that of Pete Postlethwaite. Like Brian Glover, Postlethwaite was much better known in the UK. Unlike Glover, his character in Alien 3, the inmate David, doesn't have many lines. David is taken out by the xenomorph while being used as bait by Ripley and the prisoners.
Door 3! F-channel closed! I hope.
After Alien 3, Postlethwaite made some much bigger splashes with American audiences. He played a formidable big game hunter in 1997's The Lost World Jurassic Park, a British officer in 1992's Last of the Mohicans, and the villainous Kobayashi, if that was his real name, in 1995's The Usual Suspects. He earned a Best Supporting Oscar nomination in 1994 for his role as the wrongfully convicted Giuseppe Conlin in the Name of the Father. Postlethwaite died in 2011 at the age of 64 from cancer. In spite of her death in Alien 3, Ripley returns in 1997's Alien Resurrection as a kind of human xenomorph hybrid clone. That's thanks to the efforts of mad scientist Dr. Mason Wren, played by the late J.E. Freeman. Freeman's final screen work, the pilot episode of the medical drama Heartland, aired in 2007. He retired from acting after that and dove into poetry. Before his retirement, he had enjoyed memorable roles such as Harrison Ford's boss Marty in Patriot Games, Santos and David Lynch's Wild at Heart, and the chilling button man Eddie Dane in the early Coen brothers film Miller's Crossing.
You want me to shoot Sailor in the brains with a gun?
In a letter to the editor at SF-Gate, Freeman wrote that he'd been discharged from the Marines at the age of 22 for being openly gay. He also painted a vivid description of his experience at the 1969 Stonewall riots. Freeman had been HIV positive since the 80s and died in 2014 of AIDS. He was 68. While you didn't see Steven Gilborn in Alien Resurrection, you definitely heard his voice. In the film, Gilborn voices the artificial intelligence system known as Father that's built into the USM Auriga.
Your attention, please. Security breach. MedLab level 15.
He reprised the role in the film's video game adaptation, but movies weren't where Gilborn was best known. Throughout his career, he appeared in over 90 television series, including The Bernie Mac Show, The Wonder Years, NYPD Blue, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, to name a few. Gilborn's film career included a few notable productions, including the Brady Bunch movie, Private Parts, and Dr. Dolittle. But Gilborn is probably best known for his recurring role on Ellen, where he played Ellen's father. In addition to television and film, Gilborn enjoyed working in theater, having starred in productions of The Tempest, Much Ado About Nothing, Into the Woods, and more. Gilborn had an interesting career, but acting wasn't his first profession. Gilborn initially worked as an educator, having earned degrees in English and a PhD in dramatic literature from Stanford. He then taught humanities at MIT. He also taught at Columbia University and the University of California, Berkeley. Gilborn continued acting until 2007, appearing that year in 2 episodes of Damages. On January 2, 2009, he died of cancer at the age of 72. Johnny Lewis played Ricky Howard in Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, but he's probably best known for his work on the small screen. Lewis played Kip Halfsack Epps for the first 2 seasons of Sons of Anarchy, and also appeared in numerous other series, including Drake and Josh, Smallville, and Criminal Minds. But his career, which spanned 2000 to 2012, was relatively short-lived. Lewis was in a serious motorcycle accident in 2011 in which he sustained a head injury. He was soon involved in activities that ran afoul of the law from 2011 to 2012. His legal trouble included assault charges and attempted breaking and entering. He was released from the Los Angeles County Jail days before his death. It was later suspected that undiagnosed head trauma stemming from his accident played a role in his psychological breakdown. On September 26, 2012, Lewis assaulted 2 people next door to the bed and breakfast he was staying in at the time, before jumping a fence and returning to his residence. Screaming was heard shortly thereafter. When the police arrived, they found Lewis and his landlady, Catherine Davis, as well as her cat, dead. The investigation revealed that Lewis killed Davis, then either fell or jumped from the house's roof to the driveway, dying as a result of the fall. His death was ruled accidental. There are many actors whose work in film and television is recognizable to viewers, even if they don't know their names. This is the case for Lloyd Berry, who appeared in over 50 movies and television series throughout his life. You've seen him in everything from The X-Files and Airwolf to The Adventures of Captain Zoom in Outer Space and the first Jumanji film. But he also played Homeless Harry in Aliens vs. Predator Requiem.
Let me just skip my dog. Which?
That's not a dig at Berry's character. He's officially credited as Homeless Harry in the movie. Harry is the unfortunate victim of a xenomorph in the sewers. It was Berry's final film credit, followed only by a single episode appearance in Supernatural, after which Berry stopped acting. Although it's unclear what he did during his retirement, it's noted in Berry's obituary that he helped develop the Burnaby Art Center as supervisor of fine arts for 15 years, where he sponsored and developed all manner of artistic enterprises. Berry stopped acting at the age of 82, and on July 12, 2016, at 89 years old, he died. Berry was diagnosed with and received treatment for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, and lung cancer, and it was the latter that ultimately claimed his life. Instead of a service, Berry requested that donations be made to the Canadian Cancer Society or the Nature Conservancy of Canada, 2 of the nonprofits he supported.